The arena pulsed with excitement as thousands of fans waited for Elvis to take the stage. The air buzzed with energy, a mix of cheers, laughter, and anticipation. Flashing lights swept across the packed crowd, revealing faces filled with admiration for the king of rock and roll. In the front rows, surrounded by people holding signs and cameras, sat a small 7-year-old boy named Michael. His body was frail, wrapped in a blanket, a thin oxygen tube resting beneath his nose. His mother sat beside him, her eyes red but glowing with love as she watched her son's excitement build. This night meant everything to him. His one wish was to see Elvis perform live. He had spent months in the hospital listening to Elvis songs, dreaming of this moment. Now, that dream was real. As the band began tuning their instruments, the crowd erupted when Elvis finally appeared, dressed in his signature white jumpsuit, sparkling under the stage lights. Michael's little hands clapped together weakly as his face lit up with pure joy. The sound of Elvis's voice filled the stadium, rich and powerful, echoing through every heart in the room. Michael gazed at the stage as if seeing magic itself, his lips moving with the lyrics he knew by heart. His mother wiped away silent tears, both grateful and heartbroken, knowing this might be the last concert he'd ever see. Around them, no one noticed their quiet story in the sea of excitement, not yet. The boy's eyes never left Elvis, his tiny hand raising to wave, hoping, just for a second, his hero might see him. In that vast ocean of fans, it seemed impossible. But fate, it seemed, was already watching, ready to turn this ordinary concert into something unforgettable. As the music swelled through the arena, Elvis's deep, velvet voice carried the crowd into a trance. He moved with effortless grace, his every gesture met with screams and applause. But then, in the middle of a verse, something shifted. His eyes, scanning the front rows, caught sight of a small boy sitting in a wheelchair. The bright stage lights reflected off the oxygen tube and the soft glow of hope in the boy's eyes. For a brief moment, Elvis stopped singing. The band continued playing softly, unsure of what was happening. The audience murmured, confused but attentive. Elvis slowly stepped closer to the edge of the stage, squinting through the lights. Then he saw the little boy's trembling hand waving at him, holding a small bouquet of flowers. Elvis's expression softened instantly. He took the microphone from the stand, his tone gentle and curious as he said, "Hey there, little man." The stadium fell silent. Even the echo of his voice seemed to pause in the air. The boy's mother stood, her hands shaking, and called out that her son's name was Michael, that he was very sick, and this concert was his dream come true. The weight of her words hit Elvis like a wave. His lips trembled slightly as he nodded, understanding everything without needing to ask more. He motioned for security to step aside and crouched down near the edge of the stage, close enough to meet the boy's eyes. The cameras flashed as Elvis leaned forward, whispering something that only Michael could hear. The boy's face lit up in a smile so pure it silenced the crowd completely. For the first time that night, Elvis wasn't a superstar performing for thousands, he was a man moved by the courage of one small child. Elvis stood slowly, his eyes glistening as he turned back toward the microphone. The audience remained completely silent, unsure of what would happen next. Taking a deep breath, Elvis said softly, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I want to dedicate this next song to my little friend, Michael." His voice trembled with emotion as he glanced once more toward the boy in the front row. The band, sensing the gravity of the moment, began to play the opening chords of "Love Me Tender." The gentle melody filled the air, and immediately, something changed. This wasn't a typical performance anymore. Every word Elvis sang carried the weight of love, compassion, and heartbreak. His voice was softer now, almost like a prayer, as he poured his soul into the lyrics. Michael's eyes stayed fixed on Elvis, a small smile tugging at his lips as he mouthed the words he had memorized from his hospital bed. His mother held his hand tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Around them, the crowd watched in stunned silence, thousands of people completely absorbed in the tenderness of the moment. The lights dimmed slightly, leaving only a soft glow over Elvis and the boy, as though the entire arena had shrunk to a world of just two hearts connected through music. As the song neared its end, Elvis stepped down from the stage and slowly walked toward Michael. The crowd gasped as he knelt beside the wheelchair, still singing the final line directly to the boy, his voice breaking on the last word. When the music faded, there was no applause at first, only the sound of quiet sobs throughout the arena. Then, as Elvis placed his hand gently on Michael's shoulder, the audience erupted in a standing ovation that shook the walls, a moment of pure love shared by 18,000 souls. As the final notes of the song faded into silence, Elvis stayed kneeling beside Michael, his hand still resting gently on the boy's shoulder. The spotlight bathed them both in a warm golden glow, while the rest of the arena disappeared into darkness. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Michael's eyes shimmered with tears, his small chest rising and falling unevenly as he whispered, "Thank you, Elvis." The superstar smiled, his own eyes wet, and carefully removed the silk scarf from around his neck, the one he had worn for the entire performance. He folded it softly, then placed it around Michael's neck, adjusting it with fatherly tenderness. The boy touched it as if it were made of gold. "You're my hero, little man," Elvis whispered, his voice barely holding steady. The crowd erupted into applause, but it wasn't the usual roar of excitement, it was something deeper, filled with emotion and gratitude. People in every section were crying, men, women, even the band members on stage. Some fans lit candles, their flickering flames glowing like tiny stars in the darkened arena. Elvis stood up slowly, looking out at the crowd through tears, visibly shaken. His voice cracked as he said, "Tonight, this young man reminded me what love really means." The audience responded with another wave of applause, louder this time, echoing through every corner of the stadium. He turned once more toward Michael, gave him one final, gentle hug, and whispered something no microphone could capture. The cameras flashed, capturing that heartfelt moment forever. As Elvis walked back to the stage, he looked up toward the ceiling lights, his lips moving in a silent prayer. The concert had changed, it wasn't just a show anymore, it had become a living memory of compassion that no one there would ever forget. In the days that followed, the story of that night spread like wildfire. Newspapers around the world printed photographs of Elvis kneeling beside the little boy in his wheelchair, headlines reading, "Elvis stops concert to sing for dying child." Television news replayed the emotional footage, showing the exact moment he placed his scarf around Michael's neck. Fans who had been there couldn't stop talking about it, how the atmosphere had shifted from excitement to something sacred, something they would carry for the rest of their lives. Letters began pouring into Elvis's office from all over the world, thanking him for showing that behind the fame, the lights, and the legend, there was still a man with a heart that could break for someone else's pain. Sadly, just a few weeks later, word reached Elvis that Michael had passed away peacefully in his sleep, holding the scarf close to his chest. The news hit him hard. During his next concert, Elvis stood in front of a silent crowd and spoke softly into the microphone, his voice trembling as he said, "There's an angel rockin' with us tonight." Then he began to sing, "Peace in the Valley," dedicating it to Michael's memory. The audience stood in complete silence, many wiping tears as the emotion in his voice filled the room. From that night on, fans noticed a change in Elvis, a deeper softness, a stronger sense of love in every song he sang. The boy's memory lived on through his music, through every fan who had witnessed that unforgettable moment when Elvis stopped the world for one small child. It wasn't just a concert anymore, it became a story of kindness that touched millions of hearts and proved that even legends could cry.